Hi, I'm Raina, the Halifax Mermaid, and welcome to my latest vlog. Now, most of my vlogs focus on how to be a professional mermaid, or it's trying to sort of educate parents on how mermaids work because a lot of kids are into it. And one of the things I'm always being asked about is mermen in the community. And mermaids, as we know, it's very female dominant, and it's so valuable to have the perspective of a man, not only on how to enjoy the mer culture, but also how to make a living at it. So I'd like to introduce you to my brother, Mermaid Christian. Christian is visiting us here from the United States. He's here in Canada for the first time, and he's also going to be experiencing Canada Day for the first time. So excited, so thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so happy. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to get Chris to tell you a little bit about the things he's brought with him, and then we're going to ask him some questions specific to being a merman. So tell me about your tail.
All right. Well, this tail is basically pretty much a love child of mine. I originally, when I first kind of started out in the community, I made my own tails. As many of you know, I'm pretty well known for my Tropic Thunder tail, my green and purple one, but that has since been retired very long ago. And then I have two silicone tails from Finfolk Productions on their way this year. But in the meantime, I thought, well, I need a new tail. So, and I grew up watching, like most of us, I grew up watching Splash and The Little Mermaid, but Splash was always the one that stuck with me the most. So, and I just was fascinated by, Daryl Hannah's fluke shape and the extra fins and everything. So if I was like, you know what, if I'm going to make a new tail, why not do a Splash tail? And just to kind of have like a piece of history on me and in my home as well. So I set out to make it, and at this year's Merfest, Robert Short gave a class on how he created the splash tail, and trust me, I took a lot of notes, and so I did actually use some of his notes. This is actually chiffon silk, the same thing that they used on Daryl Hannah's tail.
Wow.
And I literally watched Splash every day while constructing this to just get every little detail just perfect. So, but it swims great.
So I'm not going to ask you too much about your process, because one thing you should know if you're someone who's really interested in tail making is that there are a lot of tutorials out there, but a lot of tail makers, they figure things out through trial and error, and by doing that they're able to figure out exactly what they like and how to make something the way they want. And sometimes it's actually kind of rude to ask them how to make things, because it's sort of, it undermines the trade secrets. So I'm not going to ask you how you made it, but I do want to ask you a couple questions, because I think a lot of the fan base don't really have the full scope of it. So tell me, how many hours do you think you spent making this?
I think total, I worked on it about maybe 2 to 3 hours a day.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's dedication.
And it took me about a month to make it. So do your math, folks. So it definitely at least maybe 40 hours.
And you don't have to get very specific, but can you tell me a little bit about what the materials are?
Well, the body of the tail is just your basic neoprene.
So for people who don't know, that's wetsuit material.
Yes. Not neoprene, which is the more thinner version of it. No, neoprene. It's thick. And it feels kind of like shark skin, which that's one thing I tell the kids when they ask me, why is your tail so rough? And I say, well, we're all from the ocean, and sharks have rough skin too, so there's a little tip there.
That's really smart. I like that idea.
And the dorsal fin, like I said, and as well as the heel fins and the pectoral fins on the other side are all made from chiffon silk.
And I've seen them flow in his videos and pictures, and they just, it's like otherworldly the way they flow. It really adds to the fantasy.
And the fluke, I'm not going to quite tell you what the fluke is made of. I got to keep that kind of myself. But it does have silicone on it. And I will say I used a paintbrush to get those real fine, nice fishy texture.
It's really something, I have to say, because I own multiple tails and I've used different tails. Chris's tail photographs every bit as well as a silicone tail. You would not know. Actually, in fact, when I told my mermaids who was bringing this tail and that it wasn't a full silicone tail, they were shocked. They could not believe that it was quote-unquote fabric because it was the neoprene painted. And the movement that Chris gets with these flukes, please check out his Facebook, Mermaid Christian. Check out his videos and the pictures because it is something else. It's amazing. And I'm just so happy, and we have Splash in common because, as you know, I have splash tails as well, and I just have to make a little joke here that I love that Chris occasionally uses the hashtag Son of Madison or Madison Son, which I think is cool. So a question that I get a lot of the time, so we've got the tail, you have several tails, you've sort of figured out your look. Men are always wondering how to accessorize, and I see that you have some accessories here, so do you want to tell me a little bit about what you've got and maybe how men can sort of think outside the standard shell bra and big earrings?
Yeah. Obviously as mermen, we do not have extra features that the mermaids do, so shell bras are out of the question, but I'd say basically if standard on an average way of looking at it, bracers are always a really good thing to have. I mean, there's so many different kinds you can have. I mean, you can get some, you can get them metal for wet shoots, and they make them out of, I've seen really good ones made out of leather for if you wanted to do dry shoots.
And some tail makers make silicone ones as well.
Yes,
bracers.
And they usually have scales on them. I know Raven of Merbella's makes them, and Finfolk has also started making them now. And so yeah, bracers are a good thing. Or sometimes, it really depends on your look that you're kind of going for. Mm-hmm. See, I kind of float between the line of, as you know, if those of you have been following me for the past couple years, my main image is tropical, vibrant colors, and I float between the line of what I'm also the Sea King. I was crowned. I got my title last year, but I float between the line of royal, a little bit of royal, but also sometimes tribal.
I think tribal for men is really big. Yeah.
And tribal, you can, there's so many different ways you can go with that. Like you can get a recent photo shoot I did down in Ocean City. I did tribal face paint, and it actually worked really well with the colors of my tail and my bracers. So that's one way you could go. If you want to do head pieces, a head circlet is also a big favorite among the mermen these days. Mm-hmm. This one is actually made from by the company Organic Armor. So,
very popular company.
Very popular.
Cosplay mermaids, like worldwide, really popular.
Yeah, so that's one way you could go.
But they are latex, aren't they?
This is actually leather.
Okay, that one's leather. I know some are latex. I only say that just so that people with allergies, make sure you ask them what it's made of. That's all. And
since we don't have shell bras, a necklace is always a good thing to do as well. Like this is a gold coral necklace that merman Dan Hendrickson got me for my birthday this year. It's shiny, it stands out, and it's coral. So.
And it's very gender neutral. A lot of if you're looking at stuff that's taken from the actual ocean and inspired, everything Chris has here is very gender neutral. Maybe some men want to play up the feminine side, maybe some men want to look more masculine. It's really up to you. But the thing I like about it is it's so flexible. I mean, you could put it on me and it's gonna look good. Put it on you, it's gonna look good. Like it's neutral. Tell me about your Trident.
My Trident.
Another great accessory / tool.
Yes, what merman would be without his trusty Trident? This really, it was just a standard Trident that I bought from a Halloween store a few years ago, and I originally had painted it gold, but, over time, I kind of was... the look of it now was actually inspired by the new craze of the dolls that have been running around, and this was the end of it, and the staff are actually the colors that were on my doll, so I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of bring it to life. And
now, see, I was thinking the new the reimagining of Aquaman.
Yes.
The guy Khal Drogo.
Yes.
I forget who the actor is, but he's being Aquaman.
Yes.
It's very tribal as well, right?
But it was just all this stuff. I got all of this at Michael's. So if you have a Michael's nearby you, I'd recommend checking them out. The Rogue was from there, and I mean, it was very simple to make.
Remember that Michael's has an app, and if you download it, it has the coupons right in the app so that you can go and get your discount on stuff. And
you can also sign up for their email as well, because they will ask you every time you go in there.
And I know I've said this in several videos before, but remember, if you're doing this as a business, you want to start keeping track of your money for tax purposes, and because there's different tax breaks for if you actually record your income. It's different in Canada and the States, but it's pretty standard that if you keep your receipts for things like this, or the materials for this, or your jewelry or parts of your costume, that you can actually claim that at the end of the year as part of your business expense. So make sure that you are saving those. So Chris has told us a bit now about his look, about his tails, his process. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of being a merman, because being a merman comes with lots of awesome positive things and lots of challenges as well. So tell me a little bit about... See, it's very interesting for me because as a woman, a lot of the fields that are open to us are dominated by men, and there's not a whole lot of fields in the world that are dominated by women. So I also work as a teacher, and I know for men who want to be a teacher, it can sometimes be a little bit difficult coming into a field that's completely, for the most part, women. So for you, coming into this mermaid world, tell me a little bit about it, what's good about it, what's difficult about it, any experiences you've had.
Well, when I first kind of set out to do this, I mean, the main goal was, well, how am I going to get everybody to take me seriously? Because, you see, everybody relates to the image of a mermaid. It's been with us since the dawn of time, and you see like, oh, look at that beautiful woman in that gorgeous mermaid tail. But then you may see a guy in a tail, and you're thinking like, oh. Okay. Well, that's different.
That's
all right?
a thing.
It's a thing. It happens. But keep your head held high above that water. So that was one of the main goals that I set out to do, and I really thought, and it also kind of came into when, I kind of touched on this in my recent interview that I did with Mutiny Magazine, and I said that basically, I kind of had to cover all of the fields that were available in this community. How would I work with children? How would I explain this with children? How much, what kind of modeling I wanted to do with the tail. What my image was going to look like. What was going to be too much. What was going to be too little. How can I constantly keep it fresh? Because now there's mermen, there's so many more mers popping up all over the community, especially mermen.
It's interesting because Chris and I have been around doing this for a very long time, and I don't claim to be one of the first mermaids by a long shot. I'm definitely not. Annette Kellerman, my hero, who I've written about and spoken about forever, she's been around, she started out 100 years ago. But Chris literally was one of the first mermen I ever saw in my life. And I feel like you trailblazed for the community of mermen who are coming out there now, because you broke down a lot of these barriers for them so that bookings would go and say, oh, do you have a merman? And so people who are kind of following in your wake, yes, they're going to have their own challenges, but you've paved the way for them a little bit, so you've made it a little bit easier for you, And the nice thing about Chris, because he's not going to brag about himself, so I will, is that Chris also lifts as he climbs. So while he's trying to climb this ladder of the mermaid world and making a name for himself and being a merman, he is also trying to bring the other mermen up with him and create a space in this community for the mermen, which is so cool. Can you tell me about any experiences you've had with little boys at any of your bookings, and what kind of a reaction do you get from boys?
I do. I mean, the cool thing is, it's kind of very rewarding, like what you said, since I've been doing this for so long now, or it seems like so long.
We're getting old.
And mer years.
Mer years.
I find a lot more little boys just get this big, big glow on their face, so, because they've all seen mermaids. By this time now, most of them have seen Disney's The Little Mermaid, or watched, Bubble Guppies on Nickelodeon or something.
Guppy.
And but when they see me, it's kind of like a relief, like, oh wow, there's a guy in a tail. So I did a pirate festival last year, and I was performing in a tank with the real mermaids. And I had a seashell in there, and I had a shell outside of the tank. And this one little boy, he was kind of my biggest fan all day. Like, just kept coming up. I kept giving him pirate coins when I was outside of the tank, and then when I was in the tank. And he just picked up that shell and started, we had a shell phone conversation.
Love it.
3 minutes and everything. So, and, that, just seeing that, and then there was a lot of photos that were taken that day, and going back through all the photos, just seeing that kid, the little boy's face, just how happy and excited he was, that was a big reward to me. And that's pretty much pays off what I've been trying to do.
I think the amazing thing about our mermaid world is that we are leaving lasting impressions and memories with people. And that little boy is going to remember that for the rest of his life. And like when I was a kid, and I'm sure many of you, and I'm sure Chris, like I can remember times when I had magical experiences. And I'm 29 right now, and I still remember those moments, And it's so cool that you get to be that moment for somebody. And I read this amazing article that said, we don't know what kids are going through. We never know what they're going through. And even when a kid presents himself as this nice, happy, and bubbly kid, we have no idea what they're going through at school, what they're going through at home, if they're dealing with illness, or even just general growing up. And to see someone like you, and to have this role model, and to have this wonderful experience, it's amazing, isn't it? Mermazing. So my last question for you is, what are some of your tips, just off the top of your head in no particular order, for mermen who are considering becoming a merman, or who are interested in becoming a professional merman? So recreational, professional, either one.
All right, boys, time to listen up. You got your checkbooks ready? All right.
Checkbooks. I thought you were going to say checklists.
Checklists, but checkbooks eventually.
Yeah.
Depending on how serious you want it to be.
Yeah.
All right. I've said this since I've been doing this from the start. Be original. I mean, as I say that, I sit here with a splash tail.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
we have our guilty moments, but
you've put your own spin on it, and you've gotten the approval from the people who made the tale.
That's
so
true.
That's kind of a big thing.
But
be original.
Be original. I mean, there are so many fish in the ocean. I mean, I'm sure there is one that you can find that is going to just speak to you, that you're just going to instantly see it and fall in love with it, so just when choosing your tales, please be original. Because nobody wants to come to a pool party or an event and all the mermen that are there look exactly the same. There's no golden rule that says you have to have a blue tail, you have to have a green tail. Mix it up. Have fun with it.
Do you think that people should, I know there's a lot of people think that when they want to be a professional, the first thing they should do is go out and buy a big expensive silicone tail. What do you think about that?
I am not really for that. I do not think it's a wise decision. If you are, you can be the best swimmer that you can be, but when swimming in a tail, you're basically inside of a vice. Like, your legs are not immobile like they normally are. See? And a lot of people have had panic attacks from getting in tails. So I recommend do not go out and throw down all this money for an expensive silicone tail, especially if you're starting out. There are plenty of great fabric tail makers out there that they're affordable. They still look nice, and it's just get one of those first. And, practice in it for a good year or so, maybe longer. I mean, it may take you longer. Who knows? But
and that's okay.
That's okay. There's no rush. I mean, if anything, it gives you time to really perfect and give you time to also save up for that silicone tail that you might want later down the road. So think wisely when it comes to getting your tail. I do not recommend silicone early on.
So we've got the original and give some consideration to the tail that you're choosing. Mm-hmm. Any other big points you've got for the boys and men out there?
What I'm going to leave you guys with is just, don't be afraid to just go that extra mile. We're going to get looks eventually at some point down the road.
Mermaids get looks.
Mermaids get looks.
Mermaids get looks.
The mermen get looks. I've had some strange looks here and there, but just don't let it break you. Develop a thick skin. I mean, in this business, you do have to have a thick skin. Like, you can't have a translucent skin.
We're mermaids,
right.
and here's the cops coming for us right now. We're mermaids. Most people have not had exposure to that, and it's kind of weird. I love it, but it is kind of weird. Like, a 29-year-old mermaid here with braces, so 2 degrees. But yeah, like you said, have a thick skin because people are going to judge you. But one of my favorite quotes is that people are going to judge you no matter what you do, so you might as well do what makes you happy.
Exactly. You're only given one life, so why not live it to your fullest and actually have something as a job that you can say you love and you bring happiness to other people.
I would love it if you would follow Mermaid Christian on Facebook, and I'm also going to put a link up in this video for his website and his videos and all that fun stuff. And Christian's actually going to be working a gig with us tomorrow. Tomorrow is July 1st, Canada Day, and I'm sure by the time you see this video, it'll actually be past then. But just talking about the merman role here, the person who booked this gig for us has been promoting it for like 6 months. We're going to have a merman, we're going to have a merman, we're going to have a merman. The community where we're doing this is over the moon, freaking out excited to have Chris come. To the point that one of the store owners made a replica doll of him. And I did a booking last week, and a young girl came up to me and said, I'm so excited for Canada Day. I can't wait to meet Mermaid Christian. He's the son of Madison. And like, she knew exactly who he was. And this is amazing because we're here in Canada, he's from the USA, and it just transcends, And so if you want to learn more about being a mermaid, please check out our website, www.makemeamermaid.com. You will find all of my vlogs in the whole series. You'll also find tutorials that I've written up for you for free. You can also find my books that you can buy, and there's very often discounts on them, or you can buy the ebooks. And they're basically just tutorials on how to do it. If you like knowledge like this, this is the kind of stuff we've got. Let me just think if there's anything else coming up. I'll be posting sales for the book on there. And yeah, I'm just really excited for Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to the Canadians. And we've got July 4th coming up soon as well.
For the United States.
For the United States, so happy 4th of July. And for everyone else, we don't care. Just kidding. And so I'm just so excited, and now I'm going to take this and I'm going to go steal Ariel's voice. If you would like to hear of any other topics for vlogs, please leave us a comment, or you can shoot us a message on Facebook. Halifax Mermaids is our group page, and Raina the Halifax Mermaid is my page. You can also send us an email at halifaxmermaids.com. Just check out our website and fire us a question. We'll try to do some more topics. I think another topic we're going to have coming up soon that hasn't been covered yet is hair care and merman hair. And I'm really looking forward to that one. So thank you so much, and best fishes.